We've got Babajide Ogunsanwo, our data and information analyst, here with us today to speak about the CVR. Thank you for coming on this morning, Jide.
Good morning.
So, yes, we do know that we now have about, INEC tells us, 84 million registered voters. They broke it down just a little, the male and the female component is all there. But how does this play out from what you've seen?
Exactly what you've said. But before we talk about the voters, there are two other things we should also talk about. The first is Nigerians that are complaining. What are they complaining about? Then we should look at those that have registered. And the third is the most important criteria, which is the PVC. Currently, based on INEC's own results, we can see that about 2 million Nigerians have written to them, complaining about two things. They want their PVCs reprinted, and they want to transfer their PVCs. A lot of these complaints come from two states, Lagos and Benue State. So that is the first point that we need to be able to solve, because the elections for next year, we expect there to be a very slim margin between the first runner-up and the winner. So the first point is we need to ensure that those that are asking for the reissuance of their PVCs, we need to solve that problem. And we also need to ensure that those that are requesting for their PVCs to be transferred, that is sorted. Between those two categories, PVC reprints and PVC transfers, we have approximately 2 million voters. That is the first. Now the second is where all the fun really starts kicking in Gimba. Yes, we have 84.2 million registered voters. And based on whatever benchmark you want to use, we can say that is successful. And that's because where were we coming from as at 2015? 68.3 million registered voters. So between 2015 and today, we've seen an additional 15
Which is an improvement.
Which is an improvement.
But what does that improvement mean now? Because we're looking at there are about just over 14 million new voters included to that list.
So 15.4 million new voters are included to the list of 2015. But more than the number, what we need to look at is exactly where do we have registered voters today? Now, the evidence shows that 14 states account for half of the registered voters. And that's where we should look at, the 14 states that account for half of the registered voters. First on that list, Lagos. Second on the list, Kano. And third on the list, Kaduna.
Swing states, if you will.
Oh, yes. In fact, Lagos currently has approximately 7 million registered voters. Now, here's why this is important. The number of registered voters in Lagos is more than the combined total number of registered voters in Gombe State, Yobe State, Kwara State, Ekiti State, and Bayelsa State. So Lagos alone potentially holds the number of registered voters of 5 states. That is the potential of Lagos. So a lot of emphasis will now be on what exactly will happen next year in Lagos, what will happen in Kano, and what will happen in Kaduna. But Chamberlain, that is for the general election. Here's what politicians are concerned about. Now that we've identified the 14 states that hold half of the registered voters, the question is, how many of these states are controlled by the APC, by the PDP, and ABGA? Because then that gives us an idea of what can happen next year. And the evidence shows that out of these 14 states that hold half of the registered voters, 10 of them are governed by the APC. Only Rivers, Delta, and Benue State, out of these 14, are in the PDP, and we have Anambra in that list, ABGA. Now, that doesn't confirm what will happen next year. Because, again, we know that voting isn't just about who registers to vote. It is about who's actually collected the PVC. And so we should then also look at where exactly are all the PVCs. That is what we should look at. As at 2015, how many PVCs did we have? We had 56.4 million PVCs. Based on INEC's own data today, we have 58.1 million Nigerians who have PVCs. Well, again, how are these PVCs distributed? There are 12 states that hold half of these PVCs. That is where we then can really look at and focus on that. Okay, what 12 states hold half of these PVCs?
So it's different from registering.
Oh, yes.
Now, moving on to the game itself.
That is the
main stuff.
That is the game.
So these are the people who will determine it, and 50% in these 12 states.
50% in these 12 states.
Okay.
And then we should look at where those 12 states are. First is, we can see Lagos. But among the first on that list is actually Kano. Then we then have Lagos and Kaduna. But here's why a lot of politicians will be concerned. Out of these 12 states that hold 50% of the PVCs, only 2 are governed by the PDP. Rivers and Delta states. 9 of these 12 are still governed by the APC, and 1 ABGA. And so, yes, that probably gives the ruling party a lot of comfort. But is all hope lost for the opposition or the coalition? No, it isn't.
This doesn't mean that all of these persons will vote for one particular party.
It doesn't mean.
So some of them look for a spread or a certain percentage in this state, and that could suffice for them.
Exactly. Exactly. So next year is going to be really interesting, Gimba. Next year is going to be interesting. But the concern today really isn't about those 84.2 million Nigerians that have registered. The first challenge is, how many adult Nigerians do we have? So we can clearly see a lot of adult Nigerians, those that are eligible to register, are still not registering. The second is to even look at this PVC collection. Yes, we're excited that we now have 58.1 million Nigerians who have collected their PVCs. But here's the challenge. Between 2015 and today, an additional 17.4 million Nigerians have registered, but only an additional 1.7 million have picked up their PVCs. In simple terms, for every 10 people that have registered, only 1 has collected their PVCs. So 2019 will most likely, we'll see those that voted in 2015 will still be the ones to vote in 2019. The challenge is, will their voting decisions change? Especially if you look at how the voters are distributed. We've got 20.1 million registered voters across the 7 states in the Northwest. Then in the Southwest, we have 16.3 million registered voters. So between the Northwest and the Southwest, we've seen over 35 million registered voters. That is where a lot of that action will be happening. If you look at the 4 other zones, we can see number of registered voters between 10.1 and 13.3 million. So a lot of emphasis will be to ensure the Northwest and the Southwest elections there are free, fair, and violent-free. Especially in Lagos and Oyo, Oyo and Ogun in the Southwest. In the Northwest, a lot of emphasis and a lot of planning has to go into what is happening in Kano, Kaduna, and Katsina states.
You know, but the thing is, no matter how some of these states try to come out and register, can they ever catch up with the figures with the Northwest because of the population?
No, they can, because one of the concerns the Southeasterners also have is they've got only 5 states compared to the Northwest that has 7 states. So what you can see is, on the extreme, the region that has the highest number of registered voters is the region that also has the highest number of states. The Northwest, 20.1 million registered voters. The region as well that has the least number of registered voters is the region that has the least number of states, the Southeast. So it does clearly let you see that the zonal arrangement of the country, the ethnic zonal arrangement, if you might want to call it that way, influences those that vote. We can clearly see in the Northwest, we've seen a President Buhari who has never lost an election in the Northwest. So that gives him a lot of comfort that more registered voters are in the zone. In the Southwest as well, that gives him a lot of comfort that the party's national leader, Ashwaju, is still with him. But this doesn't give the APC a guarantee that they will win. Neither does this confirm that the PDP...
Especially when you
Let's backtrack.
Look at the states.
The last time
at
out,
the state level, yes.
PDP was in charge of Kano. They were in
Exactly.
charge of Bauchi. They were in charge of, was it not Sokoto as well?
Katsina too.
Katsina? What about Kaduna?
Kaduna too.
But
now it's
they flipped.
And that's the most important thing we need to focus on, and that is, it's not the voting that counts. It's who counts the votes. So as long as we count the votes accurately and there's no manipulation about the votes that are counted, then it's really not about the PDP, the APC, or the SDP or the CUP. It's really about the people, because it's the people that have the right to determine who will serve them, not even who will lead them. So we need to move away from parties that feel and leaders that want to come and dominate the citizens. We need to move into leaders that want to come and serve, because the most important political office in Nigeria today is the office of the private citizen, Gimba. It is not the office of the president. The most important political office is the office of the private citizen.
So what can these figures tell us now that you've seen those wave of defections, for instance, in some states and even at the national level? We've seen those happen, but how much of these figures can tell you what directions states are headed to?
So it then takes us back to those 12 states that hold half of the PVCs, not even the registered voters. And if you look carefully at those 12 states, again, 9 out of the 12 are still governed by the APC, and those governors are coming for a re-election. Only 2, Rivers and Delta, out of the 12 states that hold half of these PVCs, are governed by the PDP. So in simple terms, 12 states hold half of the PVCs, 9 are in control of the APC, 3 are with the opposition. But again, that doesn't guarantee that the APC will win. It all depends on the votes, not just people voting, but we ensuring that those votes are counted.
All right, there you go. So that's how it's been today on the program. Thank you for coming on, Jide Ogunsanwo, our data analyst.